Hey everybody, Zeal Brothers here with another video. B Chris here representing Zeal Brothers. As you know, we are two brothers that are on this channel. I go by the handle B Chris. Some of you guys know my full name, but I still go on YouTube by B Chris. And then we got Jack, who's my brother, and he represents this Zeal Brothers in his own videos. And so we both post videos on this channel, and you can kind of see both of us have our own style, but kind of a similar take to things. And we approach the issues and we try to bring truth to it. And we try to bring a level of spirituality to it that's missing in a lot of the manosphere. So I just wanted to talk about this style of article that we have. And basically what happens is a lot of people post things on Reddit. And I kind of like Reddit because people will post things there because they can speak anonymously. They can speak the truth. And so one of the famous posts that just happened the last few days is a lady who blasted her brother-in-law. And basically what happened is that she noticed that his brother-in-law wasn't helping his wife around the house enough. And they have 5 kids, and this brother-in-law is not helping his wife at all. And she basically blew up at him over a Thanksgiving dinner. And they must have some kind of early Thanksgiving since it's not Thanksgiving yet. But they posted this, and she's talking about, am I an a-hole for acting like this? And everybody supported her because the brother was not supporting his wife, and he seemed like a lazy bum, etc. Here's the problem. Everybody will always jump on the back of a man and always support a woman criticizing men. And the truth of the matter is that when you call out men like this, everybody claps their hands. And you know what? Maybe it's true. But the problem with this story is that we only get one side of the story. We don't get the word that he doesn't have a job, right? We don't hear that he's beating his wife. We don't hear that he's a verbally abusive. We don't have anything like that. We just get the idea that he doesn't help his wife enough in the opinion of her sister. And the truth be told, what we really should say about this story is that she should mind her own dang business. Now, people don't want to talk about that. A lot of women have opinions about things. And the truth be told, anytime a black man stands up and says something, and I'll just say this, anytime a man stand up and say something, the first person that's going to critique him is going to be some lady. Normally an older lady, but oftentimes a lady who's going to try to check a man. And that's kind of the problem that I have with today's society. We got too many women trying to check men. Men they really shouldn't be checking. Really, this is none of her business, right? Think of it in this way. Let's say me and my wife, we have a system. And let us just say that in our system, I work 12 hours a day and you don't know that. And I don't explain that to you because you're not in our system. But when I get home, I don't do anything. And she doesn't work. How do you know what our system is? Let's just say that that's our system. I work hard 12 hours a day so I can come home and relax, and she takes the burden off of me because I'm stressed at work. What if that's our system? Would there be anything wrong with that? See, the problem with a lot of women is they do not appreciate a man's stresses and a man's pressures. So there could be a perfectly reasonable explanation for why he's acting the way he is. I'll even note that even in her post, she blew up at the man, but the man did not blow up at her. He only sent her a text angry about it. And truth be told, if she said that to me, I would have blasted off on her because I don't really appreciate that. Nobody check me in front of my family. Nobody do that. But this man is not the man that I am. And a lot of you guys are just some simps who let women just criticize you and do whatever you want. And so you never check that behavior. So you can expect that behavior. What you don't check, you can't expect, right? So what happened is when people come at you like this, and men, you got to understand this. If you don't have the ability to basically make somebody pay a cost for crossing a line, they will always cross that line at some point. And what do I mean by that? Basically is this. The fact that people know that the way that I want my home is a certain way, and I will tell you about that. The fact that people know if their kids are seen jumping on my couch, I'm going to tell them to get off my couch. The fact that people know that if you cross the line with me in my house, I will tell you and I will ask you to leave. The fact that people know that about me establishes that there's a cost for behavior. And since there's a cost for behavior, if they don't want to pay that cost, they're not going to do that, right? and they don't get to negotiate with me. And because they know I don't negotiate with people, they don't want to do that. And if they do it, they asking for it. So really they can only blame themselves, right? So that's the way it goes in my house. That's how I do it. I check behavior, right? And I'm not trying to check behavior just to be no jerk, but I have established in my mind lines. And those lines go according to what I believe should be done. And my lines are strict about things that I own or things that are personal to me. So, if you're a man and I see you, hugging my wife, I may not check that at church, right? But if you trying to hug my wife too often, yeah, I will check that. If you say something to my wife about what she's wearing, I will check that. But if you just compliment her nice, oh, that dress look nice on you, I won't check that. But if you're trying to oogle my wife, then I will check that, right? And so it depends on how personal it is to me. It depends on how disrespectful I interpret your actions to be. And also it depends on how intentional what you're doing is, right? So if you already was tying your shoe and you see my wife walking by and you look at her, I will notice that you looked at her, but I may not say something. Now, if you keep on staring for the next 5 seconds, then I might have to say something. That's how I go. So men need to check behaviors. But I want to reverse this. Because a lot of times what happens is men do not criticize women's behaviors when they are predatory or when they are abusive. And I'll give a perfect example of this. On the job, I had somebody who worked for me. And the person who worked for me was doing a physical job that required them to have a physical and good conditioned body, which he had, but also required him to have a good mind, which he didn't have. And what the long story short is, I started to notice that he would not remember things. Obvious things that everybody who knew the job should know. And over time, it became something that at first it became kind of a joke, like, man, how this guy doesn't know where this is? How this guy doesn't know where he's at for that? And then later on, it started to become a kind of a problem where he would literally get angry at me because he would call me for things that he should know. And I couldn't help him because he was so lost. So finally, I did a medical evaluation on him. And what happened in this medical evaluation, it determined that he didn't have the cognitive abilities to continue doing the job. Well, his wife didn't like that because he couldn't work the job, and our job is one where, the workers get paid a lot. And he lost his job. And so she came and she tried to get him a bootleg physical. What do I mean by a bootleg physical? Well, if you know anything about transportation, you need a physical to drive. And what happens is our company requires you to go to certain clinics that are reputable, but you can go to almost any doctor and get a physical if you really want to. And that's what we call a bootleg physical. And the problem with a bootleg physical is that you could have got him validated for certain reasons. But if a doctor doesn't check you for those things, he won't know why you got him validated. So I'll give you a perfect example. In this case, it was his memory that was a problem, not his body. His body was perfectly physical fit. He was in great shape for his age. But the problem was he couldn't remember where he was. So his wife tried to get him a bootleg physical. And come to piece the puzzle together, come to find out she was always giving him a ride to work because he couldn't get his way there. He couldn't remember his vacation days. She would give him postcards to bring to work so that he could remember to request a vacation day because he couldn't remember it. Even from the 2-minute or 30-second walk from the car to the door, he would forget that quickly. She was abusing him. She was having him put his life on the line to work and make money for her, abusing him when he wasn't in a mental condition to understand how dangerous a position he was putting himself in. He was being abused. And people will say, man, why would that, Brian, why you seem so angry about that? Here's the reason why I seem so angry about that. Because what she did is the female equivalent to if I found a mentally disabled but good-looking woman and started to have sex with her and use her as my woman on the side because I know she did not have the cognitive ability to tell anybody that I was using her for that. And to use her for years and to know that she didn't have the mental ability to distinguish that I was using her, and she didn't have the ability to communicate with somebody else that I was sexually active with her. But I somehow gained access to her and kept using her in that way. People will be like, dude, you a piece of crap for doing that. But here's the thing. When you look at exploitation of men to women, it's normally sexual. Men try to exploit women sexually. How do women try to exploit men? We talk about gold diggers. Women try to exploit men's resources. Now, if I was to be outed for exploiting a woman in that way, people would tarnish my name. I would never be able to say another thing in public. But a lady can purposefully abuse a man for his resources. Know she's abusing him. Know that he's mentally not able to put up any defense to her. And nobody gonna say a thing. Even men will excuse it because it's coming from a lady. That's how hard it is for most men to criticize a lady. And I think we men got to stand up. Now, what has happened? Because of this, we have flipped the world upside down. We have gotten into a position where men are subservient. We have gotten into a position where men are afraid to lay a line down. Men are afraid to tell the truth. Men are afraid to give orders. Men are afraid to tell women no. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm passionate about. That's the kind of stuff on this channel Christian men need to be standing up against. And I'm not saying this just as a manosphere thing. I'm saying this as a true and a real thing. And ladies should be supporting me on this because you should be tired of the weak men that you see out there constantly. People who stutter every time they try to tell you their real opinion. Men who are afraid to speak truth. That should turn you off. That should make you feel gross. Just as gross as if I see somebody who is vastly out of shape that could be good looking if only they put some effort in. That's the same way you should feel when you see a man who should stand up for himself, but he simply won't. So, hey, I use this story as a launching off point just to speak about that. But men, stand up for yourself. Ladies, support the men who do, because you'll make society better for it.